and welcome to my YouTube channel. And I am so happy today to welcome Lisa MacDonald as my guest. Lisa is a friend, and I asked her if I could actually interview her today for you because I just love her spirit, and she's got so much to offer, and her book is awesome. Lisa J. MacDonald is known as the Step It Up Queen. She works for purpose-driven entrepreneurs and creatives to gain more clarity, more profits, and more fun. Her book, The Most Common Entrepreneurial Mistakes, was recently released just a couple weeks ago. It focuses on the struggles each of us face daily and the best ways to overcome them using proven street smart methods. Her clients often share how she gets to the heart of the matter quickly and then gets them doing what they are called to do in a bigger way that feels in alignment with who they truly are. Now, if you know me, you know I love that. On a personal note, because of her dyslexia, Lisa, you are wowing me right now. She struggled to learn to read. And people laughed at her and told her she'd never make it when she shared a dream of writing a book one day. Well, she just signed her contract for her 32nd books. And she writes under many pseudonyms. Welcome, Lisa.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk with you today. We have had such great conversations on the phone, and we just had to spill it over into this space and record it for posterity.
Yes, we do.
So how did you get the idea to write this book about mistakes?
Well, actually, what happened was back in '08. Do you remember the crash?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I was a life coach. And then the crash happened, and the next day I became a business coach because all of a sudden, all of my clients were like, I don't care. We were back in the old days, we did the phone, we didn't do Zoom. They're like, I don't care if I get along with my spouse, my significant other. I don't care about life happiness. How am I going to keep the roof over my head? And so I knew that there had been a big shift immediately. So I immediately became a business coach. And one of the things I wanted to do was get a real good feel of what was going on and who survived '08 and did really well. So I interviewed the people who rocked it in '08 and survived it. So I interviewed 50 different people in 50 different industries to find out what was it, what were the principles that they did in order to do really, really, really well at that time. So then I put it together as a course and never launched. And then I got approached to write a book. And I was like, so it was an academic publisher, and they were interested in having a research material by an entrepreneur. So I decided this is a good time to pull it out. And and I was shocked, when I looked at all the mistakes and all the principles, nothing had changed. Even when I went and researched more people and more things, because, COVID and all of that, there was only one thing that changed. Can you guess what it is? And, obviously technology changed, but that's not really the foundation of business. The one thing that changed is people were willing to talk about being an imposter, the imposter syndrome. Because Brene Brown hadn't hit big back in '08 yet.
Right.
It wasn't in the conversation. So I believe it still was existing way back when, but it hadn't come out yet.
Wow. Isn't it amazing what one person's contribution can do? Between Brene Brown's TEDx talk and her book, she changed the entire culture's conversation and opened things up for us. When I saw her the first time, I was like, she's changing the world right now. It
didn't matter who I talked to, women or men. It did not matter what sex, whatever. They were more willing to talk about, sometimes I feel like an imposter. And so that was the one thing that had shifted from the research I had done previous on what the principles and the foundations of, and that was a mistake to feel like you're an imposter, right? And to embrace it and to just embrace who you really are and know that you're enough, which is a huge thing.
Yes. Yes, we are who we are. We're never an imposter if we're authentic, right?
Right. But we all think that we have to have some kind of credentials or some kind of something to be successful.
Fairy dust, these certain people have fairy dust on them. Yeah, not. So where did this, you told us a little bit of the background, but what spurred you on to do all that research and put it in a book form? Was it because you were approached to get that book done,
Yeah.
or what was it?
Yeah, pretty much. It was because, I got approached by an academic publisher, and they're like, we would like to have something with entrepreneurs. And the other thing is, at that time, that was when I was getting my second master's, and I was researching on entrepreneurship, and I was bugged that they gave a lot more information, a lot more research to corporate than to entrepreneurs. You can trace the money and find out why and all of that, but I do wanted to be part of the canon that gives information to the entrepreneurs. Also, back my book was going to go and get accepted, and it got frozen because of COVID. And COVID changed everything for me, where I actually really changed the direction of my business and became much more entrepreneur supporting, because I saw really good people starting to lose their businesses, and I wanted to empower them. I'm like, you know what? They need as much support right now more than anything, because I truly believe that the entrepreneurs are going to be the people who heal the world. They're the ones who are going to make the difference. And I wanted to be part of that movement to help them to any way that I could, on the information that I knew, to help them survive when things got tough.
So I just want to circle back for a second, because I noticed a little correlation here. You were there in '08 during the crash, and then again in COVID. So you seem to be the person who, is in there in that tough time and gets, the opportunity to raise all boats, rising.
Yeah, my family always calls me when things are hitting the fan, right? All my friends call me. It is that, even strangers are like, hey, I tend to be the one that is like, when things are going south, I'm the one who gets the phone calls or the Zoom or the messages. So yeah, I am definitely the go-to person on that.
Yes, that shows a lot of groundedness, as far as, my perception, that you can hold steady when everybody else is rocking. You've got that common sense and groundedness and wisdom.
I always thought I was just because I was the oldest and I'm the one who keeps together.
Oh, that makes me laugh.
I don't know. I was the one. Even with my parents, they would come to me and I would go, okay, you want the answer. And that was back when I was a teenager and knew everything. It worked really well. Now it's not I don't know as much.
Back when you were a teenager, knew everything. I know. When I hit 40, I realized I don't think I know anything.
Amazing. The older I get, it's like, oh my goodness, everything is changing constantly.
Yes, yes. And I think that's one key point as well, to understand that in the world we live in, being able to just flow with the changes, whether the economy is good, whether it's bad, whatever new technology comes along and disrupts everything, just to keep going steady. And one thing I love about your book is that it is timeless. The principles don't change, and you've proven that, because they have been consistent over these various quote unquote crises, that the business world has gone through. So one thing I also love about your book is that it goes across the industries. It's not just about one thing, but there are principles that apply across the board. So what keyed you in on doing that broader look?
Well, one of the things is they asked me, it is being sold in the MBA programs. So it was definitely going to be rooted for the MBA. Now, granted, I'm having a lot of seasoned entrepreneurs who love the book and it's there, but I was like, okay, what are the best wisdom that I could get? And so it was excellent. And I was like, I'm only one entrepreneur and it is a vast field. So I don't want to just do just me, because I only have my experience, my limited. Again, I've coached hundreds of people, but still I felt like that was too limited of a perspective. So I wanted to get very different industries, and I wanted to interview what was their biggest mistake and how did they turn it around, so it wouldn't just be my voice. I didn't want just my voice. And everything that I put in the book, I did manage to find research on. It took me a while. I did a lot of digging, but it was time tested. It was proven. So, I've always been the entrepreneur doing what works, that kind of thing. It was interesting to be able to go, oh, they actually did a test on this. Oh, some of the things you're like, well, duh. but it is research bound, and it's based on not just me, because I didn't want to be just one guru or one person or one thing. I wanted it to be universal and more solid foundation so that it could serve, because like I said, it's a big game right now of, who's going to survive and who's not. And I really want the entrepreneurs to survive. I want them to thrive, actually. I don't want them to just survive.
It's so interesting that even in the Great Depression, there were people who became millionaires.
Yeah, look for the opportunity. There's always, and that's what I was coaching when people is like, there's an opportunity here. What is it? What is it? We might not always know. There's an opportunity. It's just like I was coaching just right before we got on here. I was coaching somebody who was going AI, because AI was threatening their industry. And I'm like, there's an opportunity. And we were able to discover and flow for the new opportunity. But now, obviously one of the mistakes is to learn how to be adaptable to the environment and tracking what's happening. It's just back in the olden days, back when I first started coaching, I've been coaching for 25 years, but I would have to pay attention about every quarter of what was the changes. Now, about every week, I am tapping and going, okay, what are the changes? What is going on? Because it is going faster.
Oh, yes, absolutely. There was a time when you could have a Facebook account or Facebook business, and you could stay there for a couple years and not change anything. And now, I want to hire someone who's a professional, who knows what's going on, gets all the updates, because they're happening weekly and they're big.
They're significant. Even with the AI, what the new rulings, the federal government is now coming out, but they're going as fast as they can, and the changes are happening faster than what they can. So it's a big thing to stay plugged in and to stay in. That's one of the mistakes is when people don't pay attention to what's going on in the market and how and what the psychology is and how their niche is being impacted by it. Because doing the same old thing is not going to work. The same kind of approach that worked before is not, because people's opinions and their viewpoints and how whether they want to hear about it or not is changing weekly.
Yes. Wow. Staying on top of things is huge. So what would you say is the most common mistake that entrepreneurs make?
That is a big question, but I would say one that I'm seeing a very, very, very often is in some way the entrepreneur hides. They hide. And so there are different ways of hiding. They can go and get more degrees. That's what I'm guilty of, right? They just go, let's get more education. Let's get more certificates. Oh, let's this will give me this advantage. Instead of actually getting in the game, they'll go get more degrees. Or they'll get over involved and volunteer in this business group or this social thing, or they'll do that. Or they'll be looking for somebody to partner with to come pretty much save them. That's not what they're looking at. They're like, oh, if I could just find the right salesperson, or if I could just find the right this person, then everything will be wonderful, right? Or they'll get really busy with their busy work, and they're not actually doing the needle moving, that one activity that will grow their business. And then there's, of course, the perfectionists. So we have the perfectionists and then we have the neurotics typically on either side. So we have some people who just won't put it out there. Oh, it's not pretty enough. Oh, my website needs to have this. Or we have the neurotic. Well, maybe I didn't do this, or maybe I didn't do that. And the problem with hiding, the biggest problem is you're hurting yourself. You're hurting your family. You're hurting your clients, and ultimately you're hurting the world. So, hiding and doing all that stuff instead of getting in the game, feeling the fear, doing it anyway, and seeing what's going to happen is probably universally the one I see the most often.
Wow, I can see that. The perfectionist part, as being a book editor myself, I've got, I didn't check all the commas. I can't put that out yet. There might be a comma.
It's about whether it should have a comma too. So there's always that.
Yeah. You can always find some reason to say no, not yet.
Right. And just to put it off. So that is, it's done is better than perfect, especially as an entrepreneur. Because I used to have one mentor and he would go, I just loved it because he goes, the more successful you'll become is the more willing you're willing to fall down flat on your face. I mean, how many of us have fallen splat? And then how fast are you willing to get back up and try again? Learn, obsess, apply the information that you're learning for sure, but then go out there again in the game.
Absolutely. Everything is a learning experience on the way to the next thing.
And it's data information of what's going to work and what's not going to work. And that data is important. So people who sit there, I met a particular individual, they were going to spend an entire year researching their network and their group. And I'm like, oh, no, micro tasks, get out there, go out there, send it and test it. Don't spend an entire year researching. Because that's not going to benefit you. You'll gain more information by getting out there and actually trying.
Yes, in this environment, you spend a year doing that. By the time you finish, it's changed.
Completely changed, completely. There's no question about that one.
Yeah. So what would you say is the most devastating mistake that someone could make?
Devastating. Now that's a good question. Probably not really learning marketing. Because people, I've coached many coaches over the years. That's one of my niches is the coaches. They get really good. They go to coaching school. They get the skills. They're like ready to go. But a lot of schools do not teach them the marketing, the sales, the foundations of business. And they're like, but all I want to do is coach. And I'm like, yeah, that's all of us want to do. But, learning the thing that's going to actually feed you and your family is critical. So a lot of people want to avoid the marketing or avoid the sales. And that is most devastating because, to have a business, you need to be making money. That's just bottom line. You need to have the money come in, which means you're going to have to learn some way and somehow how to do the sales and marketing and stop dreaming that somebody else is going to come and do it for you. Because you're going to know your business better than anybody else. And you do need to know those principles. Yes, you can hire people, of course, but as the CEO of your business, you need to know the marketing and the sales.
Yes, that is so important. And I find that with book authors, because I hang out with authors a lot, and authors don't like to market. And you say the word sales, they run for the hills. But if you're a book author, as you are, Lisa, you are in business.
Yeah.
And this is a business, and sales and marketing are the lifeblood. It's the steak that you eat. Your business.
Well, that's actually what got me into coaching. People ask me, how did I become a coach? And I actually was publishing books and I was giving speeches and people kept asking me to come. And I realized because the publishers all cared about how many books I sold. Right. So I was out there giving the speeches and then people kept coming up and wanting to work with me. And I realized I knew nothing about business because, of course, when I went to the university, I looked at the degrees and I'm like, you could get a degree on doing science stuff and you would have to do all the science things and learn all this stuff, or you could read books. I could go read books. And that was the intent of my decision. And so I always thought, ooh, I don't want business. Ooh, I don't want business. And then I became an author and I'm like, uh-oh. So then I had to play triple fast to learn the skills, because if I ever wanted to sell, if I ever wanted to write another book, I was going to have to start selling. Yes. So that was kind of what got me into it. I was like, I had no idea, but I also didn't realize how creative business was. Because, to be successful in business, it requires a ton of creativity.
Yes. Yes. Always thinking about new ways to do something, new ways to say it, new approaches, and new ways to communicate. There's always that brain thing going on. How could I do it now better, faster? More.
To me, it's how can I make it more fun?
More fun. Yeah.
Because I like, because I'm all about being motivated and actually being consistent, because consistency is another big flaw that a lot of people aren't doing, is consistently taking action daily. People look and they go, like, they want the big answer. They want, oh, what social media tool, what thing, what's going to be the big thing, when it's actually taking, that's how you build momentum, is doing the right action at the right time. And then for me, having fun doing it. So I'm always asking, how can I make this fun? How can I make it? And it's amazing how much more success I get if I'm having a smile on my face and I'm laughing and then giggling than when I'm making it difficult and hard.
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't have to always be so hard and tough. Sometimes.
No, and I don't think that I mean, that one of the things that I go into decision making in here, and one of the things is you are accessing the smart part of your brain if you are not making it fun. The creativity gets shut down, your brilliance gets shut down, and we don't function that way. And I think a lot of people don't understand that building your business to the way your brain works and the way your routines work actually is one of the best things that you can possibly do, and not just do, that's one of the reasons I'm against corporate, is they're always, let's do it exactly this way. And I'm like, entrepreneurs, we're not wired that way. We're wired to go to our own beat, to our own thing. And the advantage is we get to run our business our own way. And the disadvantage is the buck stops at us. So if it's not working, it's our fault. It's like, so, there's pluses and minuses to doing it.
Sure, absolutely. So show us your book cover and tell us how to get it.
You can go to Amazon. That would be the best way. Right now it's at a discount. It's only going to be there for just a little bit more. And so it's the most common entrepreneur mistakes and how to avoid them. So one of the great things I like about this is, with each mistake, I ask the expert, how did they get out of it and how did they change it so their business became thriving? And learning what, it was interesting that each person came up with something different on the most part, but there were some definitely common ones that I heard over and over again. And just, they made it simple. So I have basic steps that you can do in a checklist on, but it's not prescriptive. So it appeals to each person and your personality.
Sounds like a good thing for people to just open at random and read a little and go to another place and read a little, because it seems like spirit just brings you into what you need, and you can get that quote, you could get that idea, just leave it around, for those odd moments to pick it up and
Exactly, because I have it outlined, so you go, okay, if I'm having problems with marketing, you can just go into that chapter. If I'm having problems with sales, okay, let's go to that chapter. Yes. Oh, am I hiding? Most people know if they're hiding in one way or another. It's just like, or I'm feeling a little discouraged, or how do I make decisions? The fascinating thing on that one, and I totally geeked out on it, I remember, was because my parents, when I was growing up, they were always, I had, my mom was a stay-at-home mom and my father was a doctor. And so my mom's like, you make decisions by your gut and intuition. And my dad's like, you got to do the logical, you use facts. And they would argue back and forth. And what I found, the most recent research, is there's bias to both decisions.
Yes.
That you need to know which way you're biased towards, because you're probably going to create the same kind of problem if you are not aware of which way on that, are you going to do it the logical way, or are you going to do it the intuition? There is a bias.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think we need both of them, because we're all of it. We're everything.
Right.
And we get in one lane, we're missing out what's over here.
And asking other people. That's why I love mastermind groups, and I do talk a lot about them, because with intuition, we're biased because we only have with intuition what we've been exposed to.
Yes.
The knowledge base, same thing. And just because it was this way in the past doesn't mean it's going to be this way now. So there's the biases, and that's why it's really helpful to gather your entrepreneur friends and to bounce things off of each other.
Yes.
I really appreciate when people can just point out my my blind spots because I'm not going to be able to see it.
Yeah, that is such a good point. We can't be all things all the time. We need each other.
No.
Yeah. So tell us, are you still coaching? Are you
Yes.
taking clients? Well,
I
know there's going to be people that are going to be commenting saying, well, how do we get in touch with Lisa?
Well, my website is stepitupqueen.com. So you can contact me there, or I'm definitely found on LinkedIn too. So, Lisa McDonald on LinkedIn, Lisa J. McDonald, if there's too many McDonald's. I don't know. It's MAC, by the way. So, I know on Amazon, I'm not, there's not very many of us, but so yeah, that's how you can find me. I'm very responsive on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Very good. I love LinkedIn too. Well, thank you so much. This has been great.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye now.